when you log into your StockCard account, this is the landing page. This is the page. This is your home. And everyone's home is different because it depends on which companies and which portfolios you have already created, which screeners you have already created, which portfolios you're following, other people's portfolios you're following, which stocks or companies you're following, and which ETFs you're following. And then based on the stocks, portfolios, and ETFs you're following, your feed here or your updates are different. So these are my account, but in your own account as well, when you go to stockcard.io welcome, or whenever you log in, you land on this page. So I've been using a StockCard obviously for several years. That's why I have a lot of portfolios and screeners and stocks and ETFs I'm following, and lots of updates in my feed about stocks, ETFs, and perhaps portfolios. So the portfolios that I'm following right now, it looks like there's no updates on them. So let's basically start with one company that you might be interested in, or anyone can be interested in. And I was actually looking today, interestingly, on this small cap company. I believe it's called Weldon, if I'm not mistaken, WDLN. Let's see if I get it. Oh, WLDN. Yes, Weldon Group. And this is like a small micro cap company that came to my attention. I read about it on Twitter, and it sounds a very interesting company. I actually don't know much about it, so I thought maybe I use this little demo for you, and we can research it together. And it's a good one because I don't know nothing about it, so it really shows you how you can use the StockCard to do research from scratch. So as you saw, I just typed in the name and the StockCard comes up. And at a glance, what I'm learning immediately about this company is that it's undervalued. And so there's something going on with the stock at this point that investors are not super excited about its future. So it's undervalued. We'll get back to it quickly. And investors are bearish about it. So that's why maybe it's undervalued, because a lot of investors are bearish about it. This is the volume and the sentiment of the market about that company. But obviously, as a fundamental investor, we don't really care about these things as much as caring about the company's financial status, right? This piece here, acceptable financial status, is interesting to me because it tells me it's a company that has some strengths, as you see, 43 strengths in its financial status, but it has a bunch of other weaknesses as well, 65 weaknesses. And it's interesting too, without even knowing and reading what this company is all about, it sounds like it's some sort of a company in commercial services, is in the US. It offers engineering services, engineer construction services. So this just tells me this is probably a service company, a consulting services company in the US. So it's not necessarily a tech company. It's a company that provides some sort of a engineering and industrial and professional services consulting in the US. And the stock is about $17. Today is actually down almost 8%, or 4%. And today's price is somewhere between its 52-week low and 52-week high. It's sort of in the middle. And analysts believe that the company has at least 40% upside. So immediately, it's interesting to me because it's a company with an acceptable financial, and I would want to learn about this company soon, about its financial status. And people are bearish about it, and the stock is undervalued. And financial analysts, whoever that is covering just a small little company, believes that it has at least 40% potential. So right off the bat, in the last 1 minute, using a StockCard, I kind of decided whether, as a fundamental long-term investor, is this something that I want to pay attention and research more and more, spend more time on it or not? And that's very powerful about a StockCard, because without even looking at any of the financial information about this company, like balance sheet or income statements or cash flow, we're going to get to them soon. But I had a chance to research this company and take a look at it and decide whether I would want to spend more time on it or not. You may come across other companies that it's overvalued, and then you see this financial status is pretty red, or you see the investors are very optimistic about it. That's a totally different story about that company. So this just first crack using a stock card helps you. Losing this first layer of a stock card, it helps you decide whether you want to spend more time. I now want to spend more time on this company because of those reasons I just told you. So I use this left-hand navigation. If you're using your mobile device for researching this company and you're on a stock card, it's probably on the top of it's like a navigation bar on top of your page. But on the desktop, it's this left-hand menu. And so I'm going to go to the introduction section because this is where I'm going to get more information about what this company is all about and get a better sense of its size. So it looks like it's founded 50 years ago, and it provides outsourced services, as we just talked about, to public and private agencies and utilities located primarily in California and in New York, assists cities, public utilities, and other government agencies, and to a lesser extent, private industry with a broad range of services, including civil engineering, building and safety services, geotechnical engineering, energy efficiency, water conservative, renewable resource, financial and economic consulting. Okay, so as we discussed, sounds like it's a company that provides consulting services in areas of civic engineering and renewable energy to government agencies and utility companies, which is actually a very interesting company because these kind of services are very specialized, and a lot of government agencies hire these kind of companies to make a transition to new technology or manage some of their project, and they tend to be very profitable companies. So in this sort of introduction section, you kind of get a sense of it's a small cap, it's about $250 million or $250 million in market cap, and it makes almost $400 million in revenue. So here's an interesting thing. You remember how we looked at it and it was undervalued? It's immediately comes through here. It's a $400 million revenue company that is priced, or its market cap is about 250 billion. So its market cap is lower than its sales. So that just tells you something. We want to understand why that sales, why people are pricing it so much lower and its market cap. And we want to really understand what's going on in the company's financial. So the next thing I would do is I go to this, on the left-hand side, I go to this financial strength and just learn about what's happening to the company. These information, revenue, profitability, cost, margin, free cash flow, cash and debt, financial resiliency, management effectiveness. These are all summary of most important information that you will want to learn from a company's balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow that we've summarized all here. And as you see, so far, you don't even need any financial jargon or financial knowledge to be able to research a company on stock card. So sounds like there's something wrong with the company's revenue. It's struggling to grow its revenue. And yes, quarterly revenue growth in the last quarter, March 31st of 2023, the company's revenue is down by almost 10%. So that's why you see the pessimistic sentiment, and you see the stock is being priced lower than its market cap is lower than its last year revenue because the trend in revenue is downward. So that's something we need to pay attention to. But from a profitability point of view, it sounds like the company is pretty good. It last quarter was profitable, although it does have a positive net income, and it does have quarterly positive EBITDA. So those are really good indicators, and that it's a company that revenue is going down, but its profitability is quite strong. Of course, we're talking about a very small number because we're talking about a very small company. So I'm not going to spend a lot more time on this because if I was me, I would probably spend another 30 minutes or 45 minutes kind of digging into why it's struggling with it's managing its cost, what's happening with its margin, does it generate any free cash flow, which sounds like it does, which is a really good indicator, and some other financial information. But I think you got a good sense of how you would use the stock card to research a company, and how do you use the lower layers on the stock card, like financial strengths that I just went through, to basically research that company more and get more detail about that company. So the more you click on the stock card, the more information become available to you. You can obviously repeat this process for any company, and that's what I would do. And most of our power users, sort of VIP users, do the same process. You specifically asked about how you would use the screener. So I'm now going to go to Stock Screener and just try to find some other companies similar to Willdan that we just researched, because what I saw in Willdan was interesting. I saw it's a very small cap company, but it's profitable and generates free cash flow, and it operates in the US. So maybe there's other companies similar to Willdan that is worth looking at. And I said that because you would use the screener to find companies for a specific strategy that you have in mind. And the power of a stock card is that you don't really need to know a lot more about, okay, you have to use this specific financial metric versus other financial metric. As long as you have those broad indicators of what a company's successful company look like, such as it has to be profitable or not, or has lots of cash, not lots of debt, has a growing revenue or not a growing revenue. So some of those sort of like natural way of explaining what is a good company versus not a good company, you could use the stock card screener to be able to research them. So here we're looking for, I guess, a small cap companies similar to Willdan that are profitable, that generate free cash flow, right? That with free cash flow, because that's what we saw in Willdan that we just looked at. And it sort of triggered an idea in my mind that if there are other small cap companies or even like micro cap companies that have similar characteristics. So I put a name here. Obviously, this tells you if you want to include the stocks or ETFs. I'm looking for stocks. If you were looking for a specific country or a theme, so here, for example, I'm going to just focus on companies that are in the United States. I think I have to put United States. Yeah, I'm only focusing on companies that are in United States. Or you could put industry sector or any keyword, even if you're like, for example, interested in generative AI stocks or 5G stocks. You could put those things here, and then the filters would do their magic. And Willdan, if you remember, was a company that was 250 million in market cap. So it's actually a micro cap. I'm going to also include the small caps, which is companies between 300 million and 2 billion. And what we saw, which was interesting about Willdan, was that it was profitable. So it had really good profitability, and it didn't have any cash concern. It actually generated free cash flow. So I'm trying to replicate some of the key characteristics we saw on Willdan. I'm going to go ahead and apply this filter and see what will show up in this for this research, and hopefully we come across some interesting company that you and I can actually research. All right, here sounds interesting. There's about 229 companies that showed up. Right off the bat, I think to narrow down this research, because 229 is probably too many companies to research. So I'm going to remove the small caps, like 300 million to $2 billion companies, and then only keep the micro caps, similar to Willdan, 50 to 300 million. And it sounds like there's 88 companies that are sort of similar to Willdan that we just looked at. They're in the United States, they have no cash concern, and they have positive earnings track record or profitability. If we really want to track or mirror what Willdan looked like, we probably want to add a few other criteria. If you remember, Willdan had negative sentiment about it, about the company, probably something is going wrong. So maybe we can use that sentiment indicator to narrow down this research. If it was me, I would also always want to invest in companies that have growing revenue, because to me, sales growth is one of the most important indicators of a company's success. If there was only one thing that I would look at, it would be just sales growth. So I would just look for positive sales track record as another filter, because I want to narrow down that 88 that we just saw in terms of companies that met our previous criteria to a smaller list. So we were able to cut about 20, and we're now up to 70. This could be potentially a manageable list of stocks to research, but you can keep narrowing down, right? You can maybe remove companies that are in a specific sector, or basically what is happening right now is the companies that meet these criteria today. So what you would want to do is you would want to actually just, instead of calling it a small cap, let's call it micro cap. And what you want to do is you would want to save this filter or screener that you just created. And then by saving this, it will show up in this left-hand bar that you see on your screen, on my screen. And every time you log in back to your account and come to be a screener, you will be able to pull up this screener, and you will be able to see how many other companies, new companies meet your criteria. You can also download this list. You can add all these 71 companies to your watch list. And by adding it to that watch list, you will start receiving notification in your email that you have on your account about these companies. So any important financial information about these companies change, like their revenue goes up, their profitability goes down, they lose their free cash flow, the system will automatically send email notifications to you. And then you also see it in your dashboard. Remember how I told you I have this list of stocks here, a list of notifications and updates here that are about the companies that I follow or I have to my watch list. So if you add that filter result to your watch list, you'll be able to get notifications about them. So that's pretty much it. I will send this video to you. We didn't get a chance to meet today, but thank you for booking a demo session and asking a very good question. And if you have more questions, don't hesitate to email me or send a note on our live chat, and we'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. And don't forget that fortune always favors the intelligent investors. Have a great day.